Hey everybody, I am super excited to tell you that I'm going to be doing a series of videos about making cocktails at home for bartenderatlas.com. Now if you don't know Bartender Atlas, it is a great site that has interviews and profiles about bartenders from bars all around the world. So let's say you're traveling, maybe you're traveling alone and you don't know what bar to go to. I know sometimes I'm looking for the right bar, and I always feel better if I know someone there. So you can go to bartenderatlas.com, search by country, search by city, and then see what bars are listed and what bartenders are listed, and then you'll kind of feel like you know somebody there. They also have book reviews and cocktail recipes. It's really great. Check it out. Of course, if you found this video through Bartender Atlas, you already know all that. But if you didn't, definitely go check it out. It's a great site. Just watch the video first. It's run by my friends Jessica and Josh. They're fantastic, and I'm really excited to be working with them on this. In this series, I'm going to be covering things like ingredient and technique, the things that you need to make great cocktails at home. And I'm going to start this by talking about tools specifically. If you've been watching my vlog, my YouTube channel for a while, you've seen some of this before, but this is giving me a chance to go a little more in depth on this topic. And if you haven't been here before, and this will be all new, I'm going to be talking about the tools that you need, some of my favorites, and the pros and cons of different versions of the same tool. So let's get into it. We're going to start with a jigger. You've probably seen or own a jigger that looks like this. This is pretty classic. It's usually 2 ounces on this side, 1 ounce on this side. You can also get them at 1.5, 3/4, 1.5 on this side. The problem with this one is that it doesn't have any lines on the inside, so you can't tell any other measurements really well other than 2 or 1. So you can upgrade to something like this, which is a jigger I really love. It's beautiful. I think it's made in Japan. It's really heavy, and it has all these great lines on the inside. So again, it's 2 to 1, but it has a line on the inside, on the big side, to show you where 1.5 is. And then on the other side, it has lines to show you where 3/4, half, and 1/4 are. And while I really love it, I love how this feels in my hand, these are really made for using in bars. And the reason it has the line all the way around the inside is that when you're pouring, you don't have to put it down to tell when you've hit that line. You balance the jigger until it evenly touches that line, and then you know. And the other thing is that 2 ounces and 1 ounce are right to the top. You really run into the problem of maybe spilling when you're using this at home. And if you use one side and then the other, it's just a little messier when you don't have a drip tray, when you don't have all that stuff. You might at home, but I find these, as much as I love them, I don't end up using them. What's my favorite jigger is this thing, which is an OXO. It's got these measures that you can see from the top down on the inside. So when you have it on the counter, you can pour it in and see what measurement you're at. These also come in plastic versions. This is my pick for using at home. It doesn't have the 2 sides. I can see from the top down. Yeah, it just works really well. Now that you have your jigger, you need something to actually mix your drink in. So for stirred drinks, I have this Yarai mixing glass. You definitely don't need something like this, but what I would recommend getting for stirred drinks is something that doesn't have a seam on the inside, and doesn't have any sort of texture. That's what's great about this, because when you're mixing, and I'll get to spoons in a minute, but when you're mixing and running your spoon around the inside, you're not hitting any bumps or seams. It's just more comfortable. There are some knockoff, cheaper versions of these that I believe usually do have a seam. They're made of 2 pieces of glass. You could mix in a pint glass or in a shaker. Then you're also going to need some kind of shaker. This is a traditional 3-piece shaker, although this one's copper. If you have a 3-piece shaker like this, it's great. You know, it has the strainer built into it, but lately I've been using a Boston shaker more. So that's made up of 2 pieces. With this, you pour your ingredients into your smaller side, you pour in the ice, put your big side on top so that they fit together like that, and then you turn it around and you shake your drink. The great thing about these is that they're not too expensive. You can use them for shaken drinks. You could use one side for stirred drinks. This is probably all you would need. Then when it comes to straining, you need to strain both your stirred and your shaken drinks. There's your more typical traditional Hawthorne strainer, which has this kind of spring-loaded part, which fits really nicely into this mixing glass. But I actually prefer what's called a julep strainer, partially because it looks kind of cool. But what I like is I fill my glass when I'm stirring a drink pretty high with ice, and as I stir, the ice level goes down a little bit. And then even though a lot of people I've seen put this in this way, I actually put it in this way, and then it kind of pushes down on the ice, and then I hold it like this as I pour the drink. These don't tend to be too expensive either. Any kind of strainer that works for you. I think the big thing is that it fits into the glass really well. That's really important. Okay, moving on to bar spoons. This bar spoon I've had for a really long time, but has this heavy end, which is good for, you can crack ice with it. If you're muddling something delicate like mint leaves or something like that, that you don't want to muddle too much because they'll get bitter. You can just kind of tamp it down with that. But on the whole, I don't love this spoon. It's just a little big when I'm mixing. It doesn't feel as good in the fingers. It has these little teeth on the top, which I've never used for anything. It's got this not very deep spoon part. So if I'm just doing like a bar spoon of something, I don't love it. This is a bar spoon I do really love. It's another Japanese bar spoon. I think Japanese things and OXO product are probably the two most common things that I have. And this one just feels so nice. It's a single piece, and it just, when you're stirring, the way to stir is that the outside of the spoon is always in contact with the glass. So it's kind of spinning between your second and your third finger. I'll probably do more on technique at some point. But this one just feels so nice when that's happening. It just feels really natural. It feels really smooth. And because it has this deeper spoon part, it's much nicer for doing like a bar spoon of an ingredient, a small amount. I really recommend this. Again, a bit more expensive. Another good spoon option is this from thestandardspoon.com. It doesn't have that curved bit at the end, but it's a little deeper. It's a little more robust. It's really heavy. I like this one as well. This is probably my second favorite. Depending on the kinds of drinks you're making, you'll probably want a muddler as well. I like this kind of heavy wooden thing to use. This one's from kegworks.com, which is, I think, a US-based company, but you can find them, I think, more readily these days. I like it for muddling, obviously, but also because it's nice and heavy, you can use it if you need to crush ice. You can put a bunch of ice in a freezer Ziploc bag, crush it till it's like small or pebble size, and then use it for something like a mint julep or those kinds of things. You can use a rolling pin if you need to crush ice. Then I'll talk about ice as well. It's actually interesting that the ice that you make at home in your freezer is probably better than the ice you'll find in a standard restaurant, unless it's a bar that really is devoted to cocktails and those kinds of things. They probably won't have great ice. They'll have ice that melts too quickly and dilutes drinks too much. If you want some really nice cubes, I really like these Tovolo trays. This is the smaller size, and I think these are called the King Cube. And they make really nice big cubes if you're making like an old fashioned or something that's supposed to be on the rocks, or you can crack it up into smaller pieces. But these are really, really good. For garnishes, I would recommend a Y peeler. There's this one, which is sort of a cheapo version. I also have this OXO, surprise, surprise, that I really like. I just find these much easier to peel with when you're doing that. Versus kind of this kind of peeler. I find that a little more awkward. You don't have as much control. Yeah, so I think that's about it for tools. Those are the basics. Toronto and you're looking for any of these tools, you can check out Cocktail Emporium. They have two locations, BYOB on Queen Street and Half Ounce in Kensington Market, or you can order from thecraftybartender.com. This video isn't sponsored by either of them, but they do work with Bartender Atlas, and I think they're both great Canadian suppliers of cocktail equipment, and definitely worth your time to check them out both. Next time we're going to be talking about bitters, but please let me know in the comments what other kinds of topics you'd like to see me cover in these. And if you're new around here, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll know when the next one of these videos shows up. Yeah, I guess that's it. See you next time.